Hello, I'm Jonathan Scott, and welcome to On Air Education. A special thank you to my friend Clint Holmes for helping out with that animation. We are dedicated to helping teachers, parents, and most importantly, students with distance learning. We're coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada, specifically Clark County, which is the fifth largest school district in the United States with over 18,000 teachers and over 300,000 students. According to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, more than 90% of our students in Clark County have assigned more Fs and 77% assigned more D grades than in 2019, mirroring a national trend of lower student achievement during school closures amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The percentage of grades has doubled from 6% to over 13% in fall 2020. And while the percentage of A grades remained the same at 31%, 11% of the students who had A's now have F's in fall 2020, affirming that many families report that typically high achieving students struggled with virtual school. Furthermore, the connection between academic performance and mental health is sometimes even more apparent in typically high achieving students. Doing well in school allowed students to feel better about themselves, and it's hitting them harder than ever, like something else is being taken away. That said, distance learning is a global concern affecting not just here in Las Vegas, but our goal is to share tips on engaging your audience. And we've invited our panel to talk about their experience in schools and what suggestions they have for parents and teachers in engaging their students. On today's On Air Education, we'll hear from actor Cindy Williams from the iconic situation comedy Laverne and Shirley, the star of Criminal Minds Joe Mantegna, and special education teacher Nancy Ziegler. Everyone, this is my friend, Cindy Williams.
You snuck up on me there.
Looking very professorial.
Yes. You suggested I wear my glasses.
Yes,
and I did want to give myself that hint of intelligence, shall we say.
Well, I find you to be very intelligent.
Well, thank you,
When you were
Jonathan.
young, were there teachers that inspired you that and how they engaged you to get into the profession that you did?
Oh, yes. Well, of course, my drama teacher, Mr. Culp, in high school. But I remember, as far as learning goes, I remember in American history having this teacher, Mr. Ramirez, and it was after lunch, and
Do we want to hear this?
Oh, well, it was after lunch. We were all tired, and he would always make a big picture out of what he was teaching. And he was teaching some battle, this is how well I remember, the Battle of Hill number 104 in the Civil War. And no one was listening. So he said, all right, let's say Miss Williams has her army and she's running up the hill. And Mr. Shoemaker, you're running after Miss Williams. And then everyone perked up and listened to the lesson. So he was just making a big picture out of it. And we could all grasp onto that picture. And we learned much better in his class than in other classes where it was kind of flat and the teacher wasn't expressive like that.
And coming to you all the way from Los Angeles, California, parts unknown, our friend, actor, you may know him from Criminal Minds, or many, many movies with David Mamet, and I don't know how many movies he's done by now, but our friend Joe Mantegna.
Hey, John. Good to see you. Good to see you all.
Great to see you, Joe. And, I appreciate you coming in because we're going to talk a little bit about special education because we have another guest on our panel here from Clark County. We have Nancy Ziegler joining us, and Nancy is a special education teacher, and I really appreciate you joining us today, Nancy.
Thank you for having me.
So, Nancy, as a special education, your specialty really, and you said, and I forgot how you wrote, autism is. You said isolated. Self-contained, which to me means isolated.
Well, that's a little right. That's an abrasive use of a word, so we say self-contained.
Self-contained. Well, say hello to our friend Joe Mantegna.
Hello, Joe.
Hello, Nancy.
Joe, you're working on a new show. Can we talk about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be doing a new series for Amazon, and it was especially significant for me because I do have a daughter with autism. She's 33 years old now, and the working title for this new series is called On the Spectrum. And basically, it's about three young adults, all around the age that my daughter is right now, who all live together in a protected environment, like in a home that typical of these places that do exist, like the regional centers, at least here in California. are involved in. And the three actors who are the three young people who are on the spectrum as characters are also really on the spectrum. And I play the father of the lead young man. And the show is created by Jason Katims, who did Parenthood and Friday Night Lights, and he himself has a child on the spectrum. And so, when I read the script, it was just such a beautiful script, and because it's got humor, it's got obviously some serious aspects to it, but it's a real slice of what, at least certainly what my and my family's experience has been like having a child with autism. And I think it's hopefully will be entertaining, educational, and hopefully all the things that good television can be.
Joe, I want to ask you the same question that I asked Cindy. As when you were going to school in Cicero, was there a teacher that stands out in your mind? I mean, was there somebody that was inspirational that motivated you somehow?
Without question, a very similar answer to what Cindy said, in the sense that there was one teacher, his name was Jack Leckel. He's well into he might be close to 90 now. He's in certainly well into his 80s. And he was one of those guys that made the theater department so exciting. So I'll put it this way: I no more wanted to become an actor than the Man in the Moon when I was in high school. There's nothing pointing to me to that profession. I had seen one play in my life, but on a dare, I tried out for a play at the high school, and I didn't get cast. But the whole experience was so exciting, I kept pursuing it. And then for the next couple of years in high school, and then 2 years beyond in junior college, because the junior college in Cicero was connected to the high school, that's all I did. And Jack Leckel he made it so exciting, and so, it was like the first time I was on Broadway, which was in 1978. I did a musical on Broadway. And I remember walking into the Broadway theater and looking around and thinking, you know what? My experience in high school auditorium was actually bigger than this. And then the whole experience was even more, seemed more, in a way, not professional, but just, it was almost like it was the perfect preparation for the big time. In other words, he ran that high school program like the big time. So that when I wound up then doing a play a few years later, the play Hair in 1969, of the four leads in the play, and we're talking about thousands and thousands of kids auditioning, three of us were from that high school, which I think was a testament to how good that teacher was, and his staff in instilling that love of the theater in us.
Whoever you are, you're one of us. Whatever you want, we'll get you there. If you're not like anyone else, you're just what we're looking for. It's time to enroll in your future. Nevada State College.
Welcome to the Great American Pub, a great place to hang out with your friends, watch a game, and enjoy some great pub food. Our kitchen is open 24/7 with our full menu. Try some of our signature dishes like lobster mac and cheese or clam chowder. Join us at the Great American Pub and enjoy happy hour specials. Grab a drink and enjoy great pub food from all over the country right here in Las Vegas. The Great American Pub with two great locations, 215 in Eastern and Flamingo in 215.
In a changing world, it's time to change how we look at college. That's why Nevada State College provides excellence with affordability, a campus with diversity, and programs that offer opportunity. Nevada State College. Be bold, be great, be state.
Cindy, I have to ask you about engaging an audience for any tips for the teachers or the parents that you use either on camera or on stage, because you're also a stage performer, to engage the audience.
Well, you mean, and teachers now are teaching in a flat dimension,
yes,
right? So I just say you have to be bigger than life. Just like theater, you have to be really bigger than life, not be afraid to express yourself and express the subject matter. Like I said about Mr. Ramirez, my point was that he took the story of that battle and just brought it to life and made us all really listen to it, because he kind of personalized it, and he had just a a definite way about painting a picture. And that's, that's when you get on stage, of course, you've got people there. So you have that camaraderie, that natural, give and take, and you can feel it in the room. When I can just imagine what it must be like for teachers to have to teach in this flat, dimension, and you've got to create a proscenium and even be bigger than life and expressive and capture them so that you give the feeling of being right there.
Now, we've talked before about one of your directors, Gary Marshall, and his thing. Ian, can you put one of the pictures, the coat hook picture up?
Yeah.
Now, you've talked to me about it.
Right.
Talk a little bit about Gary Marshall's
Right.
direction for you.
Right. Well, he would always ask, what's the funny picture? And I think that's an example of what the funny picture is. And that, and he would always he would always just make it, always utz it and make it bigger and bigger and bigger and funnier and funnier and funnier and more energy, and until you're at just what Joe was talking about, his theater teacher. Just make it so exciting and thrilling that you were just waiting to perform it. And with that in mind, I was thinking about subjects, in school. And if you think, what is the picture of this subject? And what do I want to get across? And you just think about it in physical terms, in how you present it, and just the excitement that you have to draw to yourself to get through that screen to your students.
So this is our third show on On-Air Education, and one of the things that has stood out is that teaching math is different than teaching history.
Right.
And teaching science is different than teaching art.
Right.
And one of the things that led us here today to this topic is the challenge that Nancy Ziegler has of teaching kids that have special needs kids. So Nancy, what techniques do you use to keep them engaged on distance learning? How's it working out?
Well, I mean, it's January, so I can say it's working out a lot better than it was in August. So I had to pull from the acting techniques of you have to find something fun and happy so that you're able to then emote it to the children. So if it was something in August, I was like, it was just seeing their faces again. I've had my students for 3 years now. So it's like just seeing their faces, I was already hyped up, being like, it's so good to see you. I'm so happy you're here. All right, let's go do what's today? Okay, it's what month is it? And we would just start going through our routines. But the challenges as the months go on is like keeping that motivation going. Like it's 8 a.m. again, and we have to start this, and I guess we're going to go through the same routine, but having to add in. So I'm like, okay, so what did you do this weekend? And trying to get them to kind of answer me back more. But I work with subjects that are functional life skills. So like my math skills is us talking about dollar bills. So I have the money out. I'm like, let's get our money out. Now the kiddos have their own set of money. So let's get the money out and count. And sometimes we pick fun things to buy that we really can't buy, but we look on the internet like, okay, we want to buy Pop the Pig. So therefore we like, okay, let's count how many we're going to need to buy Pop the Pig. And so it's just a lot of emoting, like you said, and just hoping that an ounce of a smile comes back to you, or there's some sort of excitement in their body language. With our kiddos with autism have some stims that they call where they start to rock back and forth, which might show that they're really engaged, and just looking like, please just don't be a bump on the log. I'm trying to do my best for you guys. I want the best for you guys. So that's one of the ways. Another big way is getting my parents involved. So I try to make it as entertaining that the parents want to sit in on the lesson too. So I try to also have like that 2-layer Pixar thing where, jokes are written on, a layer for adults to enjoy, but also for the kids to enjoy. Right. So I hope that, kind of brings them in, because the more that they can sense that this is not a punishment, the better. I want everybody to have the energy that they're enjoying what's going on, for my half-hour to hour-long sessions.
Wow. That is theatrical. That's wonderful. The way you do that. I mean, it's wonderful. Do you ever sing with each other?
You bet. Songs are big. We like to sing our songs together. I'll make songs just off the top of my head of what they're saying. Well, right. So I'm like, it's almost February. Next week is February. Can't you wait? It's going to be February.
It's going to be my birthday.
Right. So who has a birthday? That's perfect.
It works.
Joe, I know that your daughter is over 30 right now, but when she was in school, what was the biggest challenge for you as a parent?
Well, one thing we found out, and I think Nancy will understand this, is when my daughter went into the special educational programs at the school, you know, there are a lot of wonderful things about it. But one thing we discovered, especially with my travels, I mean, luckily with it being my profession, I did a lot of traveling, and I would always take the whole family with me. And it would be like, even if they had this little school, it was more important that we all stand together as a family unit. But in our travels, especially like we went to other cities and also other countries, we found out that they had some of them had different feelings about special education, and some of them stressed more inclusion in the sense of, when possible, try to put the child in a kind of a classroom setting where it's not all of the children in there are of special needs, and so that the peer group that your child is in is more a group of kids that hopefully that they're picking up from and learning from, and so it's not all just people with certain kinds of special needs, conditions. So because of that, that was very important and worked out very well, because as the years went on, we would take advantage of that. So there was a constant thing of moving our daughter to possible. And a lot of times it would take going into a classroom, grade class in a grammar school, talking to the teacher and say, look, are you willing to have a child in your class that has autism, and explain what the differences are going to be and kind of the problems that might arise. And when they and the school staff and whatever would agree to it, there was a lot of benefit from that, in the sense that our daughter would, had that thing of being able to move in and out of when she needed more of that kind of special educational aspect of the school, she'd move into those classes. But when possible, there would be more and more inclusion into classrooms. So she would be the only child in there with autism. But at the end of the school year, she benefited from it, and I think all those other kids benefited from it, because they learned what it was like to in the class was a little different, had little oddities about them, but they all, had a shared experience, and everybody progressed. So this was something that was very important during my child's school.
I see a license plate behind you that says Fat Tony, and you probably couldn't see the animation.
Yeah, that's my character on the. I've been doing that character on The Simpsons for 30 years now. So,
Ian, do you have the Fat Tony? I think I sent you the Fat Tony. There's Fat Tony right there. That's right there. We created a little bit of animation when we started the show with. And do you find that the kids respond to animation?
I mean, I don't rely on it a lot, because I have such amount of time. I only have a certain amount of time where I have to get my teaching in. But I mean, my kids right now love Red Robin commercials. They love Outback Steakhouse commercials and Macaroni Grill commercials. That's what they look forward to.
Why?
Because it reminds them of going out to dinner, which they no longer can do.
Right.
So, I mean, my kiddos, they like Peppa Pig. I mean, I would love if I could show some Fat Tony Simpsons clips I wish I could, but it just goes right over their head about stuff.
I heard that Fat Tony's voice was really inspired by Joe's Uncle Willie.
Whoever you are, you're one of us. Whatever you want, we'll get you there. If you're not like anyone else, you're just what we're looking for. It's time to enroll in your future. Nevada State College.
Welcome to the Great American Pub, a great place to hang out with your friends, watch a game, and enjoy some great pub food. Our kitchen is open 24/7 with our full menu. Try some of our signature dishes like lobster mac and cheese or clam chowder. Join us at the Great American Pub and enjoy happy hour specials. Grab a drink and enjoy great pub food from all over the country right here in Las Vegas. The Great American Pub, with 2 great locations, 215 in Eastern and Flamingo in 215.
In a changing world, it's time to change how we look at college. That's why Nevada State College provides excellence with affordability, a campus with diversity, and programs that offer opportunity. Nevada State College. Be bold, be great, be state.
Oh yeah, I had an uncle that actually talked like this, so it's my homage to my uncle.
Now, our associate producer, Carol Adams at TARP, submitted this question, which is distance learning often necessitates a certain level of ease and familiarity with technology, as well as sustained attention, motivation, organization, and cooperation. What are you finding is the biggest challenge for your special education students?
The biggest is just being able to maintain sitting in front of me for sometimes hour-long sessions to 30-minute sessions. And what I can be doing then, if I, of course, they're much more physical and showing me their frustration versus saying like, I've had enough right now. Can I get a break? I'm not going to hear that come out of their mouth. So I have to be super sensitive to knowing like, okay, well, this is a bit much right now. What I'm asking is a lot of you right now. So I'm going to have to dial it back and be like, let's bring out this activity. This activity is usually has a little bit more engagement. So I'll try to layer it for high engagement, low engagement, just so I don't overload them with like drilling, like, okay, let's count our money. Let's go through our sight words. I don't want it to be a constant drill session. So if I notice that, they're starting to look off more, they're looking at everything but what they have in front of them, that's when I know I have to change it up immediately. And I have spent so much time getting tabs open on my browser to make sure I have, plans A through Z ready, depending on how I'm reading that room that's in front of me. So
Wow.
you have to plan for everything. I plan for at least 2 hours for my tabs, just in case something's not going as well as I thought they were. But that was crash and burn, in August. I learned that, I did not have enough ready to support myself.
Now, we all want to be politically correct, and I just learned in my conversation that we're not supposed to say Asperger's anymore.
Right.
It's just on the spectrum.
Why is that?
Well, it became the haves and the have-nots. So it's like, you got the good autism. That's the Asperger's. You want the good one. Make sure you're not labeled with, regular autism. Make sure, your kid's higher. They should get that special one. That's Asperger's. So they had to remove it because it became divisive in the autism community because it's somehow that one was a better one to have just by its name. And that should never be part of the purpose of getting a diagnosis, that you want a certain diagnosis because society says, well, that is the better one. We don't feel as bad for you if you have the Asperger's label.
Because it connotes a certain amount of intelligence.
It does.
Or like
It's
you could
high
be a
functioning.
genius.
You
Got it.
bet.
I've said before that we're here in Las Vegas, but of course this is a global situation with distance learning. Ian, I sent you some resources. If you could, before we run out of time, put those resources up on the screen for families here in Clark County and here in Nevada. The Accelerated Learning Clinic, and jump in if you're familiar with any of these.
You bet. Sports Social.
My friends actually started FEAT, Families for Effective Autism Treatment in Southern Nevada. Julia Ostrowski, and Glitch Fitness. And I understand Sports Social is very, very successful with children responding to bouncing the ball or
they learn how to
sports.
skateboard, they learn how to ride a bike, they learn how to do music. I mean, it's super inclusive where they can work on skills that makes them able to socialize with typical kids. Like, well, if we're both, have an interest in skateboarding, this begins a point where we can socialize together and have a common place to begin with. So Sports Social is an amazing
So eye-hand coordination isn't a big...
Oh, it is. It's right. It depends on the human.
I gotcha.
I'm not great at skateboarding, but I also don't have autism. I mean, it's just one of those things.
Okay.
It doesn't mean one or the other.
Well, there's some tips that I have here, and tell me if they relate to things that help the kids. Creating a quiet, distraction-free space for your child to learn.
You bet, but that's very difficult. I would like them to live in a soundproof room and work with me in a soundproof room, but life doesn't always dictate that depending on their home situations.
Find a fun activity your child can look forward to each day.
Yes, sometimes we call it the negotiations. Like, oh, wow, if you do really well, we'll make sure you'll be able to walk the dog with us later, kind of thing. You have to have, sometimes you need what we call an A-level reinforcer, the one that they really want to work for.
Set reasonable goals for your child.
Yes. I mean, I always feel like my parents' goals are different than my goals. Like maybe they just want to survive this time and like have a time where like they're not having to be angry or frustrated with their child. So again, I feel like my parents have different outcomes than I do at times.
Think about how to support your child's learning without making it your job to be their teacher.
Again, it's a dance. some parents feel like because I'm in their living room, they feel like they need to also be the co-star in our show, and it's difficult. I never want to ask more of them because I feel like they're already doing a lot, but I know if anything, sometimes I feel like they're the ventriloquist and helping my student answer questions when I'm like, yeah, I really need them to answer though. So
And I would be the dummy.
I want to be in Nancy's class.
You do? I think we all want to be in
Yes.
Nancy's class. We have a short time left here. Joe, is there any tips for parents or educators in engaging these kids?
You know, as I look back on it over the 33 years of my daughter's life, I mean, it's one of those things that from the moment she was diagnosed, we realized, well, we have two choices. We either put your head in the sand, or you look out there and try to do whatever you can, find out what's available, and try to explore all the avenues and see what works and what doesn't, and on you go. And that's what we've done. I mean, I've been lucky. My wife and I've been together for close to 50 years now, and so she's been the perfect support partner, in that we both are on the same page of like, look, we're do what we can do. We have another daughter, our younger daughter Gia, who's had to be the big sister in a way to her older sister. But together, we just do all the things that we can do to try to. One realization we came to was the world is not going to adjust to my daughter. So she's going to have to adjust in a way to the world. So in other words, we do what we can to kind of prepare her for her life as long as it's going to be, and God willing, well beyond my wife and I. And so we want to give them as much heads up, tools, and advantages as you can.
Well, we appreciate your time. Joe Mantegna, new show. Hopefully it'll get picked up, called On the
Yes.
Spectrum.
Oh, it's picked up. Yeah.
It's picked up. It's on Amazon.
No, it's on Amazon. Yeah.
Cindy, any parting advice for the parents or teachers in engaging the students?
Just be big and fun.
Big and fun.
Yes.
Nancy, last thing. Any wrap up?
I'm wishing everybody the best of luck to get through this last semester.
There you go.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Please like our YouTube page, and it's at Jonathan Scott Entertainment. I want to thank our guests again, Joe Mantegna all the way from California, Cindy Williams all the way from Las Vegas Country Club.
Don't say that.
And Nancy Ziegler, and at Spring Valley High School.
Spring Valley High School, home of the Grizzlies.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Jonathan Scott reminding you, still eat well and party hard, my friends.